June 9th, 1944. Off the coast of a small island in the southern Philippines that no American had ever heard of, an American submarine raises her periscopes just above the swells. Her captain, a 37-year-old man from Dallas, presses his eye to the lens and does not lower it for a full minute. What he is looking at is not supposed to exist. Battleships, aircraft carriers, cruisers, the largest concentration of Japanese naval power assembled anywhere in the Pacific since Midway, hidden inside a coral lagoon that had never appeared on an American chart. Nobody in Pearl Harbor knew this fleet was here. Nobody in Washington knew. Nobody in the United States Navy knew, except the 79 men aboard this one submarine. And by the end of the year, every single one of them would be dead. This is the story of how they found it and what it cost. May 26th, 1944. Fremantle Harbor, Western Australia. The wind comes off the Indian Ocean, carrying salt and the smell of diesel. At the end of the pier, a submarine sits low in the water, her black hull streaked with rust from 6 months of Pacific patrols. The white numbers painted near her bow read 257. Above them, several small Japanese flags, each one representing a ship she has sent to the bottom. Her name is USS Harder. At 0847 hours, a man in a khaki uniform walks up the gangway. He is 37 years old, 5 feet 10 inches, dark hair combed straight back. His face is the face of a man who has not slept well in a very long time. There are lines around his eyes that were not there 2 years ago. His name is Samuel David Dealey, and today he is taking his submarine on her 5th war patrol. He pauses at the top of the gangway and looks back at the shore. Somewhere across the continent, in Perth, his wife, Edwina, is making breakfast for their 2 daughters. He has not told her what he suspects, that this patrol will be different from the others. He has not told her about the orders folded inside his coat pocket. He has not told her that if things go wrong, she may never know exactly how or where he died. He turns and steps onto the deck of his submarine. Below, 78 men are waiting for him. Some of them are boys, really, 18 and 19 years old, on their first patrol. Others are veterans who have been with Dealey since Harder's commissioning in December 1942. All of them trust him. All of them will follow him into whatever waters he chooses. By the end of this patrol, most of them will still be alive. By the end of the year, none of them will be. To understand why Samuel Dealey is standing on this dock in May 1944, you have to go back 10 years to a moment when the United States Navy tried to end his career before it began. It is 1934. Dealey is 27 years old. He has just applied to submarine school in New London, Connecticut. He wants this posting more than he has ever wanted anything. Submarines are the future of naval warfare. Everyone at the Academy has said so. And Dealey, who graduated from Annapolis in 1930 without particular distinction, sees submarines as his chance to become something more than an ordinary officer. The medical examiners disagree. They find something in his physical, a minor irregularity, the exact nature of which has been lost to time. It is enough. The Navy tells him he is unfit for submarine duty. His application is rejected. For most officers, that would have been the end of it. Submarines are a small, closed world. Once rejected, you do not get invited back. Dealey does not accept the rejection. He spends the next 8 years fighting for a second chance. He serves on battleships. He serves on destroyers. He learns every corner of the surface navy, while quietly, patiently, submitting request after request to reconsider his submarine assignment. 8 years. In December 1942, when America has been at war for 1 year and is losing submariners faster than she can train new ones, someone in Washington finally looks at his file and signs off. Samuel Dealey is assigned to command USS Harder, a brand new Gatto-class submarine still being fitted out at the Electric Boat Company in Groton. He is 35 years old. He has never commanded a submarine in his life. He will command this one for the next 20 months, and he will not step off her deck alive. Down in Harder's control room, the smell is the smell every submariner knows: diesel oil, sweat, cork insulation, the faint metallic tang of the ventilation system. It is a smell that gets into your uniform, your hair, your skin, and stays there for weeks after you come ashore. Lieutenant Frank Lynch is bent over the chart table when Dealey comes down the ladder. Lynch is 29 years old, a Naval Academy graduate, executive officer of USS Harder for the last 3 patrols. He has short brown hair and a quiet, methodical way of speaking. He is the opposite of what most people expect a submarine officer to be. There is no swagger in him. There is only precision. "Morning, Captain." "Morning, Frank." Dealey does not say anything else. He does not have to. Lynch has served with him long enough to read the silence. The 2 men study the chart together. It shows the waters between northern Australia and the southern Philippines, a stretch of ocean known as the Celebes Sea. Somewhere in that sea, hidden among reefs and islands and mist-covered channels, is the target of this patrol. But the target is not what most of the crew thinks it is. For weeks, rumors have circulated aboard Harder about the coming patrol. Some of the men believe they are being sent to hunt Japanese merchant convoys near Manila. Others whisper about a special mission, maybe a raid on a Japanese-held island. Nobody knows for sure. Nobody has been told. Dealey knows. Lynch knows. And the orders in Dealey's coat pocket, sealed and marked top secret, contain something that no submarine in the Pacific has ever been asked to do before. The first surprise of this story is that USS Harder is not going to Tawi-Tawi to hunt warships. She is going to rescue 6 men. Deep in the jungles of British North Borneo, on a mountain overlooking the sea, a small team of Allied reconnaissance operatives has been living for over a year. They were inserted by submarine in 1943 to gather intelligence on Japanese shipping. They have transmitted radio reports. They have watched Japanese convoys pass beneath them. They have survived on rice, dried fish, and whatever the local villagers were brave enough to share with them. Now they are dying. 2 of these operatives are sick with malaria, so severe they can no longer walk. The Japanese have discovered that someone is watching, and patrols are closing in. The team's radio reports have grown shorter, more urgent. A last message, transmitted in early May 1944, said simply, "If you do not come for us now, we will not survive June." The men are Dutch and Australian, part of a joint intelligence unit operating under the Services Reconnaissance Department. Their exact names remain, even today, partially classified in some archives. What is known is that they are experienced soldiers, that they have collected intelligence of enormous value, and that their government has decided they are worth risking a submarine to retrieve. USS Harder is that submarine. The orders in Dealey's coat pocket instruct him to proceed to a specific point on the northeast coast of Borneo on the night of June 8th. He is to send a rubber boat ashore. He is to wait for a signal. He is to bring 6 men aboard and get them home. Everything else, the hunt for warships, the discovery of hidden fleets, the destruction of enemy destroyers, none of that is in the orders. It will happen anyway. There is one more thing in Dealey's possession that no other American submarine commander in the Pacific has. It is a rolled sheet of paper, worn at the edges, that he keeps in a metal tube in his quarters. It is a Japanese naval chart captured months earlier from a Japanese merchant vessel that Harder attacked on her previous patrol. The chart shows the coastal waters of the southern Philippines in remarkable detail. It marks reefs that American charts do not show. It marks shipping lanes that American intelligence has never fully mapped. It marks in small Japanese characters the depths and currents of channels that American submarines have historically avoided because they were considered too dangerous. Most captured charts in the Pacific War are sent to Pearl Harbor, translated, copied, and distributed months later. Dealey has kept this one for himself. It is technically against regulations. It is, in the strictest sense, contraband. Nobody has ever asked him about it. By the time Harder returns from this patrol, the reason he kept it will be obvious. At 1100 hours on May 26th, USS Harder casts off her lines and moves slowly out into Cockburn Sound. The Australian pilot boat guides her past the harbor markers. Sailors on the escort vessels stand at attention as she passes. Someone plays a bugle. It is a small ceremony, the kind of thing that happens every time a submarine leaves for war, but it never quite loses its weight. Dealey stands on the bridge in the sun, watching the coast of Australia recede behind him. He does not know it, but this is the last time he will ever see land from her deck. When she returns to Fremantle 5 weeks from now, but he will still command her. But he will already be a different man, and Harder will already be a marked ship, and the machinery that will lead to her death 2 months later will already be in motion. He does not know any of this. He only knows what the orders say. He only knows what the chart shows. He only knows that 78 men have placed their lives in his hands, and that somewhere ahead of him, 6 other men are waiting to be saved. He goes below. By nightfall, Harder is running on the surface at 15 knots. Her diesels rumbling, her lookouts scanning the horizon with binoculars. The moon is thin, the sea is calm. In the wardroom, Dealey unfolds the sealed orders in front of Lynch and 2 other officers and reads them out loud for the first time. The men listen without speaking. When Dealey finishes, one of the officers, a young lieutenant named Sam Logan, exhales slowly. 6 men, he says. We're going all the way to Borneo for 6 men. Dealey folds the orders and puts them back in the envelope. 6 men who have been reporting Japanese fleet movements for a year, he says quietly. 6 men whose intelligence has probably saved 1,000 lives already. We're not going to Borneo for 6 men. We're going because those 6 men are worth more than this submarine. The wardroom is silent, and if we run into anything else on the way, Lynch asks. Dealey looks at him for a long moment. Then we deal with it. Nobody in that wardroom knows what is waiting for them in the waters ahead. Nobody knows that 6 days from now, Dealey will see a Japanese destroyer coming straight at him and will make a decision that no submarine commander in the Pacific has ever made before. Nobody knows that within 2 weeks, they will look through their periscope and see, floating at anchor in a hidden lagoon, the largest concentration of Japanese naval power assembled since Midway. Nobody knows that their reports will reach Admiral Nimitz in Pearl Harbor and change the course of the war. They only know what they can see. The dark ocean, the stars, the dim red glow of the control room lights, the steady rumble of the diesels driving them north, toward the equator, toward the islands, toward whatever is coming. Samuel Dealey climbs back up to the bridge shortly after midnight. He stands beside the lookouts, hands in the pockets of his khaki jacket, watching the horizon. He does not speak. The lookouts do not speak to him. They have been with him long enough to know when he wants silence, and tonight he wants silence. Somewhere below them in the black water, dolphins are moving alongside the hull. Every so often, one of them breaks the surface and blows, a soft sound like a whispered breath. Oh, Dealey listens to it. He thinks about his daughters. He thinks about Edwina. He thinks about the 6 men on Borneo, waiting in the jungle, watching the sea every night for the submarine that might or might not come. At 0130 hours, the officer of the deck reports a course change. Harder swings her bow 12 degrees to starboard, aiming for the passage between Timor and the Indonesian archipelago. Somewhere beyond that passage, past the Celebes Sea, past the reefs and channels marked on the Japanese chart in Dealey's quarters, is the anchorage that will make his name and end his life. Its name is Tawi-Tawi. He has never been there. No American submarine commander has ever been there. Nobody in the United States Navy knows exactly what is waiting inside its coral reefs. They are about to find out. June 7th, 1944. Sibutu Passage. The morning comes gray and slow over the Celebes Sea. Harder has been submerged since before dawn, running at 80 feet, her batteries carrying her north through a narrow channel of water that no American submarine has ever transited by day. Above her, the surface is smooth as glass. Below her, the ocean floor drops away into darkness. At 0655 hours, the sound man in the forward compartment raises his hand. Propellers, Captain. Bearing 030. Fast screws. Dealey moves to the periscope. He does not hurry. In 17 months of submarine command, he has learned that hurried men make mistakes, and mistakes down here get 79 men killed. He lifts the handles, raises the scope to just above the swells, and takes one careful sweep. What he sees is a Japanese destroyer coming at him at nearly 30 knots. Her name is Minazuki. She is a Mutsuki-class destroyer, 18 years old, worn down by 2.5 years of Pacific War. Her captain does not yet know that anything is beneath him. He is running a routine escort pattern, sweeping ahead of a merchant convoy that has just left the anchorage at Tawi-Tawi. Dealey drops the periscope. Battle stations, torpedo. The word passes through the boat in a whisper. Men move to their positions without a word. Frank Lynch appears at Dealey's shoulder, notebook in hand, already calculating angles. Dealey does not order a long-range shot. He does not aim for the merchant vessels behind the destroyer. He waits. At 1,100 yards, he fires 3 torpedoes. 2 of them hit. Minazuki comes apart in the water like a paper toy. Her forward magazine goes up in a column of white fire that Dealey watches through the periscope for exactly 4 seconds before he calls for a deep dive. She sinks in under a minute. Of her crew of roughly 150 men, dozens never reach the surface. Harder goes deep and runs silent. The remaining escorts drop depth charges for 2 hours, but they do not know where she is. And by noon, they give up and rejoin the convoy. At 1400 hours, Dealey surfaces to charge batteries. He does not celebrate. He goes to his quarters and writes in the patrol log. Then he unrolls the captured Japanese chart on the wardroom table, and he studies it for a long time. 2 days from now, he is due at the Borneo coast to pick up the men. Between here and there, according to the chart, is a channel that no American commander would ever choose to cross in daylight. Dealey chooses it anyway. June 8th, 1944. The northeast coast of Borneo. The rain begins at sunset. It falls in warm, heavy sheets that hiss against the ocean and turn the coastline into a wall of shadows. Harder lies half a mile offshore, running quietly on her electric motors, her deck awash. On the bridge, Dealey watches the beach through binoculars streaked with rainwater. At 2018 hours, a single lantern blinks 3 times from the shore. Then it goes dark. Then it blinks 3 times again. That is the signal. A rubber boat is put over the side. 4 men climb into it and paddle toward the beach. On the deck of Harder, Lynch waits with a rifle across his knees. Dealey waits beside him. Neither man speaks. The rain keeps falling. 45 minutes later, the boat comes back. It is riding low in the water. There are 6 men inside it who were not there before. They are thin. Their beards are long. Their skin is yellow with jaundice and malaria. 2 of them cannot walk and have to be lifted onto the deck by the sailors who came to meet them. One of them, the leader of the team, salutes Dealey with a hand that is shaking so badly he can barely hold it steady. He is Australian. His name is Major William Jenkins, part of a special reconnaissance unit called Python. He has been in the jungle for 8 months. He has not seen a friendly face outside his own team in a very long time. Dealey returns the salute. "Welcome aboard," he says quietly. "You are safe now." Jenkins tries to answer, but his voice will not come. He nods. 2 sailors help him below. By midnight, Harder is running north again on the surface. 6 new souls added to her crew, and the wardroom has been turned into a sick bay. Jenkins lies on the padded bench, drifting in and out of fever. In his sleep, he speaks the names of men his crew does not know, men he left behind in the jungle. The rescue is complete. The orders have been fulfilled. Now, if Dealey were a cautious commander, he would turn Harder south and run for Fremantle at flank speed. He does not turn south. He turns north, June 9th, 1944, off Tawi-Tawi. The Sulu Sea is glass. There is no wind. The sky is a hard, pale blue. Harder is submerged at periscope depth, moving slowly along the edge of a chain of small islands that shelter one of the largest natural anchorages in the Western Pacific. At 0748 hours, Dealey raises the periscope. He does not lower it for a long time. What he sees framed inside the lens is something no American has ever seen before. Battleships, not 1, not 2. He counts them as he sweeps the anchorage. 5. 6 battleships at anchor, their turrets pointing lazily at the sky. Behind them, aircraft carriers, 1, 2, 3. More than he can count from a single sweep of the periscope, their flight decks bare in the morning sun. Around them, cruisers, destroyers, oilers, supply ships, so many hulls that the water between the islands looks like a floor of gray metal. He is looking at the entire Japanese First Mobile Fleet. He is looking at Vice Admiral Ozawa Jisuburo's carriers. He is looking at Vice Admiral Agaki Matome's battleships, including the two largest warships ever built, Yamato and Musashi. He is looking at the naval force that Japan has assembled to fight the decisive battle of the Pacific War. And nobody in Pearl Harbor knows they are here. Dealey looks for a full minute. Then he lowers the periscope. He does not speak. He walks to the chart table. He writes down the ship counts by class. He writes down the bearings. He writes down the estimated depths. He writes down everything he saw. Then he says, quietly, "Get me the radio room." At 0902 hours, the coded transmission goes out. It is short, fewer than 200 characters. It reaches Fremantle, and from Fremantle it reaches Pearl Harbor within the hour. In the basement of the Combined Fleet Intelligence Center, a young officer reading the decrypt looks up at his commanding officer with his mouth open. What Harder has just reported matches almost exactly intelligence that ultra codebreakers have been piecing together for 3 weeks. Ozawa's fleet is real. It is at Tawi-Tawi. It is preparing to sail. Admiral Chester Nimitz is briefed by noon. He does not raise his voice. He does not smile. He simply says, "Confirmed." And then he begins to move the pieces on his side of the board. June 7th, 1944, late afternoon. Harder is still in the Sibutu passage. She has been running submerged since sinking Minazuki that morning. At 1610 hours, the sound man reports a new contact. Fast screws coming out of the anchorage. Dealey raises the periscope. It is a destroyer alone, sweeping the outer approaches. Her name is Hayanami. Her captain has been ordered to find and kill the American submarine that everyone in the fleet now knows is somewhere out here. He does not know that he is looking directly at her. Dealey holds his fire. He watches the destroyer come closer. 650 yards is a range at which no submarine commander in the United States Navy would normally shoot. It is a range at which a miss means death. He fires 3 torpedoes. The first one misses. The second one hits Hayanami just aft of the forward stack. The third one hits her amidships. She breaks in half in the middle of her own bow wave. Her stern lifts vertically out of the water, propellers still turning, and then she is gone. There are no survivors. Harder dives. Later that same day, 3 destroyers hunt for her. For 6 hours, they drop depth charges. They drop over 100 of them. Cork rains from the ceiling. Light bulbs shatter. The temperature inside the boat climbs past 110 degrees. Jenkins, still feverish in the wardroom, holds a wet rag to his face and does not make a sound. At 12:40 hours, Dealey does something extraordinary. He turns Harder around and attacks the pursuers. He fires 4 torpedoes at the lead destroyer, Tanikaze. 3 of them hit. She sinks in under 2 minutes. The 2 remaining destroyers, uncertain now, unsure whether they are hunting one submarine or several, break off and run for Tawi-Tawi. Harder surfaces at 1815 hours to charge batteries. Her crew is exhausted. Her hydraulics are damaged. Her oxygen is low. But somewhere in a wardroom aboard Yamato, at anchor in the lagoon, Dealey has just terrorized. An admiral named Ugaki Matome opens his diary and begins to write. We have lost 3 destroyers in as many days to what appears to be a single enemy submarine. Our escort screen is now dangerously thin. The training schedule for our carrier pilots must be reduced. We cannot afford to risk further destroyers in flight operations. 9 days from now, those undertrained pilots will fly out to meet the American fleet in the Philippine Sea. 600 of them will not come back. July 3rd, 1944. Fremantle Harbor. USS Harder comes home in the middle of the afternoon. The dock workers see her first. A black shape against the blue of the harbor, moving slowly past the outer buoys, her diesels rumbling low. Someone shouts. Someone else runs to find the base commander. Within minutes, the pier is lined with men in khaki and white, standing quietly, watching her come in. She is battered. Her hull is streaked with rust and oil. Her conning tower is dented from depth charge concussions. And painted along the side in fresh white numbers that were not there 5 weeks ago are 3 new Japanese flags. Samuel Dealey stands on the bridge as she comes alongside the pier. He does not wave. He does not smile. He simply stands there, hands on the rail, watching the men on shore watch him. He is 37 years old. He looks 50. The debriefing takes 3 days. Officers from Pacific Fleet Intelligence fly in from Pearl Harbor. They want to know everything. Every ship Dealey saw at Tawi-Tawi. Every bearing, every depth, every guess about what the Japanese were planning. Dealey answers their questions in the same quiet voice he uses for everything else. When they finish, one of them tells him, off the record, that his sighting report on June 9th was the single most valuable piece of naval intelligence delivered by an American submarine in the entire war so far. Dealey nods. He does not seem to hear it. That evening, Frank Lynch finds him alone in the wardroom of the officers' club, staring at a glass of water he has not touched. Lynch sits down across from him and does not speak for a long time. Finally, Dealey says, without looking up, "How is Jenkins?" Lynch tells him, "Jenkins is going to live, so are the other 5. 2 of them are already well enough to walk. All 6 of them have asked, through the base chaplain, to send their thanks to the captain who came for them." Dealey nods again. He still does not touch the water. The Battle of the Philippine Sea begins on June 19th, 1944. Dealey does not see it. He is at sea, by then on his way home. But on the deck of USS Lexington and on the decks of 6 other American carriers, 450 naval aviators are climbing into their Hellcats and preparing to intercept the largest Japanese air strike of the war. The Japanese pilots who are coming to meet them are young. Most of them have fewer than 300 hours of flight time. They have not trained enough. Their instructors, senior naval officers, spent the spring worrying about fuel shortages and destroyer losses instead of teaching them to fly. Their carriers, forced to stay in port at Tawi-Tawi longer than planned, were unable to conduct the flight operations that would have made these pilots ready. They come anyway. 400 of them are shot down in a single day. American pilots, stunned by how easy it is, will name the battle the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Japanese pilots, those few who survive, will remember it as the day the Imperial Naval Air Service died. The battle is won by many things: American radar, American training, American numerical superiority, American code breaking. But it is also shaped in a way that history has not always remembered by the work of American submarines like Harder, whose relentless pressure on Japanese escorts and fuel convoys left Ozawa's carrier pilots with too little flight time, too little fuel, and too little experience for the fight of their lives. Samuel Dealey never knows this. By the time the Turkey Shoot ends on June 20th, Harder is still at sea, 13 days from Fremantle, and Dealey has just over 2 months to live. August 5th, 1944. USS Harder leaves Fremantle for her 6th war patrol. Nobody makes her go. The Navy would have granted Dealey shore duty for the asking. His officers have quietly suggested it. His wife, Edwina, has begged for it in letters. She thought he might read on his last night ashore. He does not ask. He goes. Whether it is duty or exhaustion masquerading as duty or something darker that he cannot name, he goes back out. The men of Harder go with him. They love him. They would follow him anywhere. They do not know that this time he is taking them somewhere from which they will not return. The patrol takes them north into the South China Sea, then east into the Philippines. On August 22nd, off the coast of Luzon, Harder joins a wolf pack with 2 other American submarines. They are hunting a Japanese convoy. The weather is calm. The moon is nearly full. On the morning of August 24th at 0728 hours, they attack. The convoy scatters. One of its escorts, a small Japanese anti-submarine vessel, designated CD-22, turns toward the source of the torpedoes. Her sonar operator picks up a contact at 4,000 yards. Her captain, a young officer with only a few months of command experience, does exactly what he was trained to do. He steadies his course. He orders depth charges, armed. He runs down the bearing. At 07:28 hours, he begins his attack. 15 depth charges are released in a tight pattern. At 07:36 hours, oil begins to rise to the surface. By 0800 hours, cork insulation, wooden splinters, and pieces of a chart with English writing on them are floating in a slick a mile wide. USS Harder is gone. She has taken 79 men with her. Samuel Dealey is one of them. He is 37 years old. He has been married to Edwina for 14 years. He has 2 young daughters. He does not know that he has died. Nobody aboard Harder knows. The end comes in seconds. There is a shock, and then there is a rush of cold water, and then there is nothing. She settles onto the ocean floor at a depth of 3,000 feet. Still upright, her torpedo tubes still loaded. She has been at war for 1 year, 8 months, and 13 days. The telegram reaches Edwina Dealey in Perth in October. She is at home with the girls when it comes. She reads it standing in her front hallway. She does not cry. She goes into the kitchen and she puts a kettle on the stove, and she stands there for a long time watching the water come to a boil. Later, the girls will remember that she never spoke of him with bitterness. She would tell them that he had a job to do, and he did it, and that some men are given the kind of work that does not let them come home. She would tell them that he had loved them very much. She would tell them that he had loved the sea. She does not tell them because she does not know what her husband's final hours aboard Harder looked like. No one does. The last entry in his patrol log, made the day before he died, was a routine navigation notation. Whatever else he thought about, on that final morning off the coast of Luzon, went down with him. On a summer day in 1945, in a small ceremony, Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal presents the Medal of Honor to Edwina Dealey on behalf of her husband. She wears a dark dress. Her 2 daughters stand beside her. The citation is read aloud. It uses words like conspicuous gallantry and intrepid leadership, and at the risk of his life, above and beyond the call of duty. Edwina listens without moving. When the ceremony ends, she thanks the secretary. She thanks the Navy. She takes the medal home in a small blue box, and she puts it in a drawer, and she does not look at it again for a long time. Samuel Dealey is one of only 7 submarine commanders in the entire war to receive the Medal of Honor. 6 of the 7, including him, received it after their deaths. For 80 years, USS Harder lay unfound. Her exact position was known only to the Japanese from the records of CD-22 and her captain, who marked the location where he attacked her in his patrol report. Those records were captured after the war. They were filed away. They were, in time, mostly forgotten. In May 2024, an expedition led by the Lost 52 Project, a private organization dedicated to locating American submarines lost in the Second World War, announced that they had found her. She lay on the seabed off the coast of Luzon. Near the position the Japanese had recorded 80 years earlier. She sits upright at 3,000 feet. Her hull is largely intact. Her deck gun still points forward. Her name, painted in numbers along her bow, is still faintly visible after 8 decades in the dark. She is a war grave. She will not be disturbed. The men aboard her, 79 of them, remain where they fell. The Navy considers them still on patrol. There is a small plaque at the Submarine Force Museum in Groton, Connecticut, where Harder was built. It reads, "Hit 'em harder." That was her motto. It was Dealey's motto. It came from a signal his crew painted on her conning tower in the spring of 1944, when the war was going well and they thought they might all live to see the end of it. None of them did. But some things they did in those last months mattered. The intelligence from Tawi-Tawi mattered. The 3 destroyers they sank mattered. The Japanese pilots, who never learned to fly properly because their carriers could not leave port, mattered. The Turkey Shoot mattered. The Philippine Sea mattered. And the 6 sick, half-starved men that Harder pulled off a beach in Borneo on a rainy night in June, men whose names are still not fully known, they mattered too. Samuel Dealey did not live to see any of it. He was, in the end, a quiet man from Dallas who had been rejected from submarine school and spent 8 years fighting to get back in. He was a husband, a father, a naval officer who did his job and did not talk about it much. He was not a hero in the way that word gets used in movies. He was tired. He was in over his head. He kept going anyway. His submarine sits in the dark, 3,000 feet down, her bow still pointed forward. His medal sits in a drawer in a house in Perth that no longer belongs to anyone who knew him. His daughters have grown old, and somewhere off the northeast coast of Borneo, if you knew where to look, there is a stretch of dark beach where, on a night in June 1944, 6 exhausted men stood in the rain and watched a rubber boat come toward them out of the darkness and knew, for the first time in months, that they were going to live. That was him too.